If you've ever wanted to build your own custom home here on 38, Santa Rosa Beach, or even in Freeport, it can feel like a heavy process, but it definitely doesn't have to be. It can be boiled down to a couple steps. And I got my buddy right here, Brian Walsh with Keyline Construction, the owner of Keyline Construction, specializing in Santa Rosa Beach, specifically Watersound Origins, Watersound Camp Creek, a lot of the luxury stuff coming to Freeport, which is super exciting. But Brian, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your business and some of the value propositions you can offer.
Yeah, Keyline Construction's been in business since 1994. We build, like you said, anywhere from Niceville, which is where our home office is, all the way to Inlet Beach area. And actually now we're going into Bay County. So we're a full-on custom home builder. We also do some speculative stuff out in Watersound Origins, but we love doing custom homes. That's kind of our forte and what we feel we're best at.
I love that. And being one of the premier builders in Watersound Origins, that's going to be a semi-custom process. So we'll talk a little bit about that also. But Watersound Camp Creek, some of the stuff you're doing in Steamboat Landing, which is Hammock Bay's only bayfront community and phase of Hammock Bay, all entirely custom. And yes. I think there's a lot of people out there that it can feel a little scary.
Right.
Not only from budget standpoint, but how do we take the first steps? What does all that stuff look like? So let's say I come to you and I want to build my own custom home. Where's the first place that we should start?
Well, the first thing we start with is a lot. If you have a lot, that's great. If you don't have a lot, then we're going to help you find a lot. We work with people like yourselves to help our buyers find the land, build where they want. But if you come to us and you own the lot, then first thing we're looking at is the survey.
Yep.
If you don't have a survey, we're connecting you with a company that can get you a survey done quickly. And then with that survey, we're looking at setbacks. Mm-hmm. What is the buildable area on the lot? We're looking at flood zones. Yep. And then from there, we take, we work with a local architect, Studio A Architecture, Andrea Plunk, and she has a great questionnaire that's really thorough that we give to our buyers to answer.
Yeah.
And that really gives us all the information that we need and she needs to design a custom plan on that lot.
I love that. Andrea's great.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job. And I would say probably, obviously, if you're looking for land, make sure you reach out to me, of course, and we'll get you set right. But Brian and I, we've had situations where people bought lots already, like in Camp Creek. You come in and we can you coming in can kind of consult on kind of the overall landscape of how we should build. What are the best features? Are we back up to preserve? What does the privacy look like in the overall community? I'll let you worry about the fun stuff like the HOA guidelines and the ARC, the architectural review committees and all that. But then we also have times where people are looking for vacant land, and you and I can go out there and look at the lots and say, hey, this one's probably gonna sit best.
Right.
I always think about the Barrett family, right?
Yeah.
And the way that their home is laid out, it had to have a lot of intentional design behind it. You couldn't just put any house with like a half acre.
Yeah.
And so the way that house is laid out is just beautifully done.
Right.
And so that's one of my favorite things that kind of sets you apart from other builders. But once we find the ideal lot and we work with Andrea at Studio A, I think that's always probably the most fun process of like getting your hands dirty and taking a pencil, erasing stuff, kind of adding stuff. Obviously that stuff adds up. Right. So what is the cost perspective of all this stuff look like?
Ooh, well, in the cost of the architect, is that kind of what you're thinking, or just the? I
think we don't have to go into exact
numbers,
yeah. But we have an architect fee.
Yeah, you're looking at the cost of a survey,
yep.
Which is probably $600-700, right. And then you're going to have design costs with an architect, and that's going to vary depending on the complexity of the plan. We do have some of our own stock plans, which is a great way to start because we can look at a lot and say, the setbacks are this. We know that this plan that we built in Watersound Origins will also fit on this lot.
Yep.
And that's a great way to start, especially that's a great way to have some cost savings because we can take that plan to Andrea, our architect, and because she drew it, mm-hmm. and then we can tweak it to meet your needs. But we have something that we're starting with.
Right.
But we certainly, probably 75% of the time we're starting from scratch to design a plan exactly to meet your needs.
Gotcha. And so I know we've been in those meetings together, but what do you think is the best place to kind of start off? Like you have a survey, if you're not putting the plans on it where you can kind of see everything fits and you're starting from scratch, is it easier to start from the front, go in the back, start with the backyard? Like what does your thought process look like working with studio?
I think it's all, you've got to know you kind of going into this thing, you should be thinking about what's important to you in a home. 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, bunk room, then what does the outdoor living space look like? And then with that questionnaire, that answers everything. She covers everything. And so you really don't necessarily start from the front or the back. It's all encompassed into what you're looking for and what fits on that lot. The lot's a challenge, you know. You can have topography issues, you can have flood zone issues, you could back up to state forest, and you have these vegetated buffers that you have to take into account. So there's a lot of things that, you know, the lot dictates, and so it's real important to do your homework on that lot before you purchase it.
For sure. And I think it always comes down to breaking your wants and needs, you know, like breaking down exactly what that looks like. And then from there, you can kind of do a cost-benefit analysis. So, okay, we really want this, like a pool house. Do we need the pool house? You know, and I think that's a fun process to go through as well. I think one thing that kind of sets you apart also is, obviously you have the designs and Watersound origins, but then you're also taking feedback from a lot of these people too. I mean, Keelan's construction's been around for a while. And so taking that feedback and being able to implement the floor plan differently and kind of have a little more of a custom home feel. As one of the builders in Origins, I know that's a fun process. You got 9 lots over in Powell Landing East. A couple of them already being built, custom homes. And then we have the custom home sites in Powell Landing West. What excites you most about Watersound Origins right now?
Oh, I think it's just a fabulous neighborhood. I mean, it meets the needs for so many different people and different family situations. If you have young kids, there's lots of young families out there. The schools around the area are great. The sports activities around that area are great for kids. But if you're an older couple, there's a ton to do that as well. So it meets everybody's needs. And there's all different ranges of price point out there. There's different range house sizes. So it is by far, in my opinion, the best community option in our area, in that area.
And I think Watersound Camp Creek is just kind of like the amplified version, especially when it comes down to houses. Are there any trends that you're seeing in Origins that kind of stick out to you from the building side that maybe you haven't seen before?
No, I mean, we are starting to see, we're introducing some new exterior materials that are just new to Watersound Origins.
I love it.
That weren't allowed prior until recently. One of which is brick on the exterior, painted brick. And so we're starting to use that as some accents out there, and it's looking good, and it's just different, so it kind of sets our houses apart a little bit from everything else that's back there. But you know, the other great thing about Watersound Origins is, you know, we're one of the approved builders out there, but there are a lot of good builders out there, and that's what we like, is to be building with other good builders. So the quality is consistent throughout the neighborhood, and you know, everybody does things a little different, and everybody's got different personalities, and so you got to figure out who the best to work with. But that's what we like about that community. And we didn't even mention, but if you're a golfer, I mean, you can't go wrong with the 3 golf courses out there that are available to you with the club membership. So it's just a phenomenal neighborhood. We're excited to be a part of it.
I love it. And I think a lot of people are obviously seeing that demand for Watersound Origins and Camp Creek. But the luxury side of Freeport, I think, has exploded, specifically with Steamboat Landing.
We're real excited about Steamboat Landing. It's a J. Odom developed community, and everything he does, similar to St. Joe, is always top notch. The amenities are always great. What we like about both those developers is they put the amenities in first. They're not out there promising these things are coming, and they never come. But Steamboat Landing, we're real excited about it. It's a beautiful setting off of Bay Loop Drive in Freeport, and just the clubhouse that they have on the bay is phenomenal. They've got like I don't know how long that dock is. It's like 500 feet or something. It's phenomenal. Great sunsets, so we're real excited about that community.
I love it. So we have someone comes to us, we help them buy a lot, we get the survey, lay plans on it, work with Studio A to kind of get the full set of plans. Next step, we lay the foundation and break ground. And I think one thing that you do very well is communication, and then being on the job site, actually know what's going on. So I think sometimes, you know, not every builder is the same, and there's some people that can delegate it out to project managers and stuff like that. And I think that's a unique thing that we can kind of talk about. It's like the communication style
Yeah.
that comes out of building a home.
Yeah, and one thing we do on the front end too, just to go back just a second, is lead up to this, is we put together a team.
Yeah.
You know, we have you, the realtor, we have the builder, and then we bring on the architect, and then if the client wants, we can bring in the interior design piece with an interior designer. So we create a team that is together through the whole process. And as far as once we get to the point where we're breaking ground and we're starting, then yes, we do have a superintendent that's on the job daily. I'm out there daily on every job. We're kind of, we're a smaller builder in that area, so we're not building the volume that some of the other guys are. So we have a little more flexibility for me to be out there.
Yep.
Meeting with clients, and I'd much rather be out there meeting with the client than in my office, doing paperwork. So we do think that's an advantage. You're talking to somebody that can make a decision right then on the job site. Doesn't have to go up 2 or 3 levels of chain of command. So, we think that's an advantage, and I certainly enjoy that process and being out there.
Yeah, I think the flexibility side of it, I mean, I've seen cases where you're willing to get super creative, whether that is working with an interior designer, working with different types of style, the trim that you're doing over in Watersound Origins for that one couple in Powell Landing East. There's things that when you walk through your house, it just feels custom. Also, you do a great job from a resale perspective too,
right.
where we're not just designing a home for now, we're designing a home forever. And I think that's definitely something, we can bounce ideas off of each other. How do we make a home perfect for resale down the road?
Right.
Because the biggest thing in our area is that people don't necessarily move out of our area, they just reposition.
Right.
So you have a lot of people that built in Watersound Origins a custom home, live in it for a couple of years, and then come over to Camp Creek and want to build their own home there too.
Right.
So that kind of migration, how money moves, is always super interesting. If someone wanted to get started building a home with Keyline Construction, what does that process look like?
Well, I mean, first they need to contact you to secure a lot, and then at that point, reach out to us. You can reach out to us via our website or Instagram, and we can walk you through the whole process. But like I said, we start with the lot, then we go from there, and then we create that team that's going to be together to watch that house go from an empty lot to a finished product.
I love it. And I think one question I've been trying to ask a lot more people, what are you excited about with all the changes and development coming to Santa Rosa Beach, Freeport specifically? Is there anything that you're hoping for or you're excited about that you've already seen coming?
Freeport, I think is growing, and you're seeing a lot more retail moving to Freeport. You're seeing some infrastructure improvements to Highway 20 coming in the near future. Freeport is just going to be a booming city, and I look, the next 10 years will be fascinating to watch that grow in Freeport. But as far as our area where we focus most of our time in Watersound Origins, I'm just super excited about some of the stuff that St. Joe has coming down the pipe that people don't even know about yet, but there's some really cool things coming, and that area and that neighborhood is going to continue to grow. Yeah.
I think but the amount of infrastructure, obviously we're both very bullish in this area since we both serve it well. But I think the best thing is with how fast things are moving, just in land of development. You go out to Camp Creek and there's already a house frame that you didn't see 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I say the best thing is to probably just start the conversation sooner rather than later, even if it's 2 years down the road when we're building a custom home. Land's not going to be around forever, and I think it's always great to kind of see some land and know what's going on around it. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out. We have all the information down below, and we can't wait to see you at the beach soon.